is my son, Conrad Tellis. And when Conrad was 16 months old, he fell into a swimming pool and drowned. And I used to think that you would either drown or not drown, you lived or you died. But we found out that it's not quite that simple. And I want to share with you today our journey. Because if you are like me and have a child who is now considered special needs because of an injury, first of all, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's not a journey that any of us would particularly pick. But what I'd like to share is it doesn't necessarily have to be a miserable journey. There are many ways to think about your life, your child's life, and be active in their recovery, but also have a life, basically. So, the first thing when you have a child that has an injury, therapy is extremely important. So having Team Luke Hope for Minds available as a resource is just incredible, because no matter what, your child is going to need some kind of treatment, some kind of therapy. Keep in mind, though, that brain injury is very complicated, and it's not one size fits all. And so you don't want to become frustrated if you find out something that worked, quote unquote, for someone else and it doesn't work for your child, because really it's not one size fits all. And so you can take them. So when I started down the journey of therapy, I developed this mantra that said, potential to help without hurting. And so as I talked to people, as I read about it, if I encountered a therapy that I believed worked, I would try it, as long as it didn't have a potential to harm him. And you have to think about harming too, is you don't want to, you have time, you have expenses and all of those things. So you do have to think about some of the therapies that you that you use, and figure out your kind of own routine. I mean, because unfortunately, there's not a cookbook for us, but that doesn't mean you're on your own. And organizations like Team Luke Hope for Minds are a great resource to help you down that journey. The second thing that I think is extremely important is you have to focus on yourself. You're not going to be able to do what you need for your journey unless you're prepared, unless you're well in both, body and mind. And I have a couple of tips on that. When you focus on yourself, you have to be in a good mindset. So when you're in a good mindset, you can take care of yourself, you can take care of your child. So the first thing that you need to do is release your anger. Find out whatever you can do to release the anger on whoever you believe is responsible for your child's accident. It may be a stranger, it may be a family member, it may be yourself, but whoever it is, it's not going to help you or your child to hold anger that this happened. Again, I'm sorry that it happened. I wish it would never have happened, but for me to hold anger against the person that was watching Conrad when it happened is not going to help Conrad, is not going to help that person, is not going to help me. And so that's one of the hardest things to do is focus on the future, and focus on what you need to do then to get rid of any of that anger. And then what also happens is get rid of any kind of guilt you hold. So taking care of a special needs child is really difficult. I mean, there's lots of different things that you have to do that you wouldn't normally have to do with a typically developing child. But because of that, you need to make sure that you take your time to what I call find joy without guilt. Get away, do yoga, take a walk, have a glass of wine with a friend, do something that brings you joy so that you can basically fill back up and be able to go back to your child and do the things that you need to do for them. And so I learned giving myself breaks where I'm not talking about it, where I don't feel guilty that I'm not doing something, allowed me to go back and do a lot more. And the other thing that I found really important is sometimes when you have a special needs child, you feel kind of isolated. You feel like you're different, than, other parents, other people. But you'll find if you can maintain meaningful relationships, outside of your special needs environment, it's really important because you have your, friends that you had before the accident. You might have other children. You might have a spouse, a partner, somebody, that you need to spend that time and keep fostering really meaningful relationships outside of being, the parent of your special needs child, and really finding, that joy with other people. And lastly, I would say ask for help when you need it. It's amazing to me because, as I said, I didn't choose this journey. Conrad's accident happened. I'm his mother. I need to take care of him. But I've encountered so many incredible people on this journey. People that are just drawn to working with kids like Conrad. And you can find them when you go out there. You can't live in, a bubble in your house. When you go out there, you'll meet people that really want to help in any way. And the more specific you can be in what you need, even if it's just, can you watch my child for this amount of time? Or I really would like to get a certain type of device, or I need this kind of book, or people really do want to help, and asking people gives them something that they feel like they can do for you. And so it's a journey. Like I said, I have a not-for-profit with Conrad. It's called Conrad Smiles. And the reason it's called Conrad Smiles is I was told Conrad was never going to get any better and was told to put him in an institution. I didn't, for several reasons. First one is scientific. As I said before, I don't think we understand everything about the brain. And so the thought of him not being able to recover at all just didn't really make sense to me. But then the other one I could say is spiritual. It's like, this is my journey, so I'm going to follow it. And that journey led me to a neurologist here in San Antonio who was able to do research related to anoxic brain injury, which is what happens when you survive a drowning accident. And the idea is to look at what's functioning in the brain. So if you have a child that's typically developing, they have certain brain networks that allow them to see, hear, experience touch, think about the future, and move. And we did a study where we compared the brains of children that had survived a drowning accident when they were a toddler to typically developing kids. And you can find this all on the site, but the net result was the networks in the brain that are associated with everything were intact except for movement. So what you'll see when you go to the website, which is conradsmiles.org, it says the kids are in there. And so that in and of itself is just amazing, because a lot of times when you see somebody who's nonverbal and not moving, you just assume that they're not processing, and that's not the case. And so we're still pursuing research, and that is the purpose of Conrad Smiles. And again, I've encountered a lot of wonderful people that are behind the effort. And so I know I'm sounding, kind of maybe overly optimistic, but I do really want to leave that with you, is there is a way to find the joy. There is a way to find others that will help you deal with your situation. So thank you for your time.